Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Today we're going to work into our new unit of cells. And before we get started, I want you to pull a piece of paper out, and I want you to divide it up into 3 different sections. Shh. In the first section, instead of putting a K, what you know, I want you to put, I definitely do not know. In 3 sections. Yep, that's fine. Yep, divide in 3 sections. In the middle section of your paper, I want you to put, I sort of know, or I kind of know. And in the third section, I want you to put, I definitely know. I kind of or sort of know. I have a word splash up here. If you know any of these words, put it into the column of I definitely know. If you kind of know what it is, you recognize the word, or you maybe know a little bit of the word, put it into the kind of sort of section. But if you do not know any of these words, put it in the I don't know. I definitely do not know column of your paper. Paisley. Okay. Are y'all good? Awesome. All right. By the time we read this book that I have to share with y'all, you should be able to become familiarized with the words that's on your chart or on your paper. I'm going to gather y'all in a circle since we only have 2 students today. We'll work with the area that we have. All right, y'all. We're going to read a book by Robert Wells, and it's called What is Smaller Than a Pygmy? Is that right? Pygmy Shrew. You going to sit and watch and let's read? Come on. All right. Yeah. Shh. It reads, how small would you say that small really is? Is something you can hold in your hand, like a blueberry, small, or a grain of sand? Yes, it's true that we call these things small, but in this book you will find much, much smaller things you cannot ordinarily see. Unless, of course, you look through a microscope. An ordinary microscope bends light rays in which makes objects appear larger than they really are. With this, you can see that you may not have known existed. You can discover, for example, the many tiny creatures inside living in a single water drop. But did you know that there's a world of things too small to be seen with an ordinary microscope? To see these things, you would need to use much more powerful instrument, an electron microscope, which uses electrons rather than the light rays to scan images. This is the kind that many scientists use. The world of the very small is almost unbelievably tiny and hard to imagine, but it's quite real. In fact, it's just as real as a blueberry. Everyone knows you can stretch your mind by thinking big. Do you suppose it's all possible to stretch your mind by thinking small? No? Okay, we'll see how it goes when we read this book. It says, this is a pygmy shrew. From the end of her nose to the tip of her tail, she's only 3 inches long. That's a pygmy shrew. Okay. If you were a pygmy shrew, you feel mighty small. Even some toadstools would still be taller than you. Talking about the mushrooms.
Oh, that's a toadstool?
Mm-hmm.
I thought a toadstool was an animal.
An animal? As far as I know, it was a type of mushroom, I believe. All right. If you happen to you meet an elephant, you probably think you're the smallest thing under the universe. That's elephant's foot. Compared to an elephant, the largest land mammal, she looks very small indeed. But polygamy shrew, you're not so small. Not compared to a ladybug. Ladybugs are a kind of beetle, and beetles are just one of the many kinds of insects. Polygamy shrews are insect eaters, but they prefer to leave ladybugs alone. They know that ladybugs have a bitter taste. If you were a ladybug, you certainly think you were an awfully small. For you, a leaf floating in a tiny puddle would be like a boat in a lake. But ladybug, you're not so small. Get out of there. Not compared to tiny creatures that live in these water droplets or on your leaf boat. In the water droplet, there are two kinds of one-cell animals known as protozoa. Cells are tiny building blocks that make up living things, but most plants and animals, even the smaller ones, are made of many millions of cells. Our own bodies are made of trillions of cells. Here's a closer look at protozoa. The ones that look like slippers with whiskers, we're talking about these, are paramecia. Ones that look like blobs are amoebias. And these are blobs. I pointed at the wrong thing, I'm sorry. And these are the blobs, the amoebias. The whiskers on the paramecia, we're talking about the whiskers, are called cilia. They are like paddles which propel the paramecia through the water. An amoeba moves slowly about by pushing out a part of its body and then floating into the extended part. Because of this, amoeba is always changing shape. They're always changing their shape. Paramecia and amoebas are so small that you can barely see them without a microscope. But did you know that even smaller things live inside these water droplets? Yes. Tiny parameciums would be like a giant sea monster compared to bacteria. There are many kinds of bacteria. Some cause disease, but most are harmful to other people. In fact, many are useful to us because they live inside our bodies and help digest our food. What is this? Do you guys remember?
Paramecia.
Yes, this is a paramecium. What do you think these are?
Smaller bacteria.
Yes, these are small bacteria surrounding our paramecium. Like protozoa, bacteria are made up of just one cell, but bacterium cell is smaller and simpler. Most bacteria are so small that thousands of them could fit in the dot of an eye. Wow, that's small. But even the bacteria are made of smaller things called molecules. Wait, not so fast. Before we look at molecules, you have to realize how incredibly, astonishingly tiny they really are. Now, if we took just one part of this bacterium, we're talking about one part of a bacterium. You know, bacterium is microscopic. And made it into this size, a mole inside of it would be just a speck. Living cells and most of the other things in our world are made of molecules. There are many kinds of molecules, and some are much bigger than others. To see even the biggest ones, scientists must use a very powerful, special kind of microscope. Since all living things contain water, a water molecule, the tiniest particle of water, is one of the many kinds of molecules that we will find in the bacterium. If we picked out just one water molecule and made it bigger, it might look something like this. So this speck on the bacterium may look like this. A water molecule is one of the smallest molecules. It's so tiny that even in the microscope bacterium, there would be many thousands of them. But what are those three round things that make up the water molecule? They are atoms. All molecules are made of atoms. There are about 10 kinds of atoms that they combine in different ways to make one molecule, or to make molecules, excuse me. When two hydrogen atoms combine with a larger oxygen atom, they make a water molecule like this. So what do you think this molecule is? Water. I meant to say it's atom. And which two are these? And hydrogen, yes. This is oxygen and these are two hydrogen that makes what kind of molecule? Water molecule, good job. Even though these tiny atoms are made up of smaller things, tiny particles called electrons whirl around within the atom at the speed of light. So they would appear as a blur, like the spinning fan blade. Electrons form the cloudy shells of these atoms. The dot on the center of the nucleus shows a much bigger than it would really be. Like our universe, atoms are mostly empty space. And if an atom were the size of a house, its nucleus would be tinier than a grain of sand. Wow. Here's a closer look at the nucleus of the oxygen atom. Now we can see it's made of even tinier particles, and they're called protons and neutrons. The number of protons determine the kind of atom. The nucleus of an oxygen atom has 8 protons. It also has 8 neutrons. Neutrons help bond an atom's nucleus together. Protons and neutrons are made of still tinier particles called quarks. With 3 quarks making up each proton and neutron. Quarks are so amazingly tiny that scientists cannot measure their exact size, but with a special machine they can figure out their weight. Is a quark then the lightest particle there is? Do you think it is? No, it's not even close. Even though there are sizes too small to measure, a quark is known to be more than 600 times heavier than an electron. Here's one quark and then there's an electron. The difference. Yeah, so electron, protons, neutrons come from a fourth of that quark. Electrons, protons, and neutrons and quarks. What an amazing assortment of tiny particles. They make up every atom, and atoms make up every physical substance. Everything that people make is made of atoms. Every car, every clock, every sink, every shoe, every boat, and every ball. Everything in nature is made of atoms. Every grain of sand and every drop of water, every tree and every flower, every person, animal, meadow, and mountain. Even the world itself is made of atoms. So is every planet and every star, every comet and every asteroid, and every moon and every meteor. In fact, every physical thing in the universe is made of atoms. Trillions and more trillions and countless more trillions of atoms. So how many atoms do you suppose it took to make you, polygamy screw? Thousands and trillions. Good. All right. So what did y'all think about the book? It was good. Did you learn something? What'd you learn? Help them.
And it takes billions and millions and they put one tree.
Okay. What about you?
I heard one people's shoes. I didn't know people's shoes was a regular thing.
And to be honest with you, I didn't know that either until I found this book and I started reading it and investigating. Anything else? All right. Now I want you guys to go back to your charts. After reading this book, if you got a better understanding and know what you have placed in the I don't know or the I kind of know categories, move them to where you move them if you definitely know them. If you don't still know them, just leave them in their category so you can draw arrows. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You don't need to have that. So tell me, now that y'all moved them, can you explain to me what a cell is? words what a cell is. Yes, it's the building block of all living things. And if we go back to page, I don't know what page it is, but it is, it's right there. It says cells. They are the tiny building blocks that are made up of all living things. Can you tell me what a polygamous shrew is? Okay, yes. A polygamous shrew is a type of animal. What about bacteria? Can you tell me what bacteria is? Okay. Well, they got a small glossary in the back, and in that glossary it says bacteria. It's made up of one cell. Bacteria among all smallest living things. They exist in almost everywhere on Earth. Most bacteria are barely big enough to see with an optical microscope, but they are very important to all other living things. They manufacture some of the vitamins and nutrients that plants and animals need. Without bacteria, all other life on Earth will soon cease. Excuse me. Can you tell me what a microscope is? Okay.
I agree.
All right. Yes, you are. It's a scope that allows you to be able to see anything that is not naked to the eye, that you can't see with the naked eye. Please stop. Protozoa. Can you tell me what protozoa is?
They're wood filled organisms, but they're not exactly bacteria. They're like something new, so they're not really.
Yes, they are one-celled animal-like creatures. They can be found in saltwater, freshwater, soil, plants, and animals. Many protozoa causes diseases in humans, but some live in our bodies peacefully. Say that again.
Paramecium, what's the type of protozoa?
Yes, right. Yes, that is correct. Yeah, that's correct. You have me thinking. I felt like I was saying yes.
Yeah, you have paramecium and amoeba.
The two different types.
Those are the two most common types.
Okay, now if you can, when you flip over your worksheet, I have a series of questions I would like for you to answer. I didn't write them on the board, but I will write them for you.
How many are there?
There are going to be, I'm sure one more. There's only going to be 4.
Are they hard?
Yes, leave a little bit of space so you can elaborate on the question. And no, they're not hard. They come directly from the book, okay?
I work with a partner individually.
You need to work independently because I want to know what you have learned from the book. And then we will compare with your partner, okay? Let me erase this off. Yes, ma'am.
Do you write the question or just the answer?
I would like for you to write the question and the answer. Because if you only put the answer, how will you know what you're answering? So you need to know the question so you'll be able to answer it. Or if you only write the question and don't answer it, how do you still know what it is? Sit down, please, ma'am. sorry, y'all, I had 5 questions, I was on the wrong page. I apologize. Sorry. Get up there, let's see, go. Now, I'm not gonna tell you again, you stay up here and get still. Get up there. Y'all doing a great job. Seems like y'all know what y'all. Seems like y'all remembered a lot from the book.
Very interesting.
Squishy? S-Q-U-A-S. That's right. Alright. So what is a cell? Can you guys tell me in your own words what a cell is? Yes, it's the building blocks of all living things. Good job, Whitney. Number 2 asks, what are plants and animals made of? Can you tell me what plants and animals are made of, Anastasia?
Cells.
Yes, they are made of cells. What else are they made of?
Cells.
What's something smaller than cells?
Atoms.
Atoms. Good job. Good job, Whitney. Number 3 asks, what is the difference of paramecia and amoebias? Tell me about amoebias.
Amoebias are like blobs. They can change their shape, they help them move around and stuff.
Yes, they are. They're more like a blob, like a splash or something, and they change their shape and form to be able to move and get around or engulf their food that they're processing. Can you tell me about parameciums?
They can swim, they have cilia.
Yes, yes, they do. Most of the time they're oval, and they do have cilia, hair-like, on the outer parts of their their structure, and it helps them move around. Number 4 reads, is bacteria small or large compared to paramecium? Small.
Bacteria live without paramecium cells.
Yes. It is small compared compared to compared to paramecium, and why is it smaller than compared to paramecium? Can you tell me about bacteria?
Can't see bacteria will die, you have to look at some microscope.
Yes. Can you tell me something about bacteria?
They are harmless, most of them are harmless.
Yes. Most of them are harmless. Stop 'em.